Hello, hello, hello. Today we're talking about Google Ads for lead generation websites. So, Erno, over the years, we see different types of lead generation websites. Some lead generation website will require a lot of information, and some of them even take payments. And I'm just curious, how is that different to e-commerce when it comes to Google Ads? Just basically, what's the difference between lead generation websites as well as e-commerce websites?
Yeah, so thanks for asking. So Arne Horvath from Optimum Click. Basically, the difference is that for e-commerce website, everything happens online, or well, 90% of the things happens online. For B2B e-commerce, there is a chunk that happens offline. But if you compare a B2C e-commerce site with a B2C lead gen, e-commerce has much more data, much more accurate data because everything happens online. They can
Yeah.
track the visitor. Yeah, there are GDPR and such, but still. However, for the lead generation services, well, it's a much more complex because people leave the funnel, they call the business, so basically they jump out of the online world and they just jump into offline where it's much harder to track this is the same visitor that visited the website and just called us. So, well, there are ways to tackle this difference. One is offline conversion tracking. So obviously we include the phone calls and try to match the phone calls with the visitors online. So call tracking is essential. Offline conversion tracking is essential. And also what I would say is you need to have a really good CRM system where you
Okay.
store this data.
Okay, so it's fair to say that the online plays its part and then the offline also plays its part. So what you're saying in essence is for lead generation websites, if you're not getting as much conversion, sometimes the problem is not just with the Google ads. Sometimes the problem is with the post off website side of the journey. Like you mentioned call tracking, from what you're saying, so basically the sales team and the designers and all those people offline also contributes to the conversion journey. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, yeah, pretty much. I have pretty good case studies where we did everything basically what we can online and then the offline funnel breakdown. So for example, yeah, if you start a lead generation campaign and you put a substantial amount of money into Google Ads or any you need to make sure that your call center can handle the calls because in many times what happens is that we bring those calls to the customer and they are waiting 2.5 minutes to just to speak with someone. So obviously, well, in this case, they fall out of the funnel. And also for a B2B kind of like example, we put the leads into the CRM, but the sales team just couldn't pick up the phone for some reason. It just the leads were there and no one called them. They wrote an email and if they didn't get any reply, they just left as it is.
So yeah, interesting. So basically, what you're saying is the sales team, the calls, everything needs to work in synergy, and there needs to be that accountability that it's not just Google Ads alone. That leads us nicely to the next question. When it comes to then setting up Google Ads, what do you normally recommend for the clients to do? Like, okay, they want to start Google Ads for lead generation. What are the steps that they need to take before they set up that Google Ads campaign, in your opinion and experience? Yeah.
Yeah. So first of all, you need to define your goals. So what you like to achieve with this Google Ads campaign, because once you have your goals, you need 30 leads per month, 150 leads per month, whatever amount of leads per month, or I would say qualified leads per month, you kind of like need to calculate it back that how much budget I need to achieve that. Also, you need to think about the conversion aspects. So, okay, well, I bring all those people to my landing pages. What happens there? Will they call me? Is there the phone number visible? Will they just download some kind of white paper? or they just submit a form. So these needs to be designed as well. Okay, what we want from the customers to do, and also you need to think about your target audience. So kind of like it's a bit so as to say, easy to say, but you need to know your ICP, your ideal
Yeah.
client profile. You need to know what are the pain points they have, and the landing page also need to be in cohesion with the message in the ad, the keyword they searched, and obviously,
Yeah.
these three things should be at the
Yeah.
same.
So I agree with that because in the past, I've also worked in situations where the sales team provide the information about their ideal target customer. Sometimes people make the mistake to assume that Google has all the answers. You need to have certain information about your ideal customer to be able to then tell Google, this is the people I want to target. And then you then build out your keywords for that. So in terms of Google Ads, how is it then crucial for lead generation? Because the reason why I'm asking why Google Ads is crucial for lead generation is because sometimes people work in partnerships, like B2B can get partnerships, events, and other types of avenues, conferences, podcasts, and different types of avenues to get B2B buyers, especially for lead generation. And then they also have LinkedIn ads, they also have Facebook ads, and all those ads. So why is then Google Ads crucial for lead generation, in your opinion?
Well, it's the biggest search engine at the moment, and therefore there is a lot of demand it captures. So when someone needs a plumber, when someone needs a commerce, an office fit out company, when someone needs an offshore development team, an onshore, a nearshore development team, whatever kind of like needs people have at the moment, they mostly go to Google, type in their queries and do the search. However, as you mentioned, it's not just Google Ads. So obviously the main topic today is Google Ads and lead generation,
Yeah.
but also we've seen cases where kind of like Google Ads was okay-ish and some other platforms, well, generated much better leads or generated leads at a discount, for example. So I like to emphasize a few things next to Google Ads. So first is if you are a local service, and sometimes people mix it with Google Ads because Google has a different product called local service ads.
Okay.
So basically, if you are a local business in certain category, you go to Google, upload a few documents, and tell Google that, okay, well, I want to pay $30-40 for a lead, and you just sit back and waiting for the calls to come in. I'd like to talk a little bit about the local service ads, maybe in
Sure.
upcoming episodes. Yeah, but speaking about other networks, for example, Microsoft Ads. So
Yeah.
what we see are a lot of enterprises, a lot of large companies are using the Microsoft infrastructure.
Yeah.
So, for example, some campaigns we are running and targeting larger enterprises, Microsoft Ads just outshine Google Ads
Hmm.
because it's a smaller market share, but it's a higher market share in larger enterprises proportionally compared to general. And we have pretty good case studies where we generated, for example, leads for commercial cleaners at about 60% discount compared to Google Ads from Microsoft Ads.
Okay.
And also, well, obviously, we've got a few other clients where the Microsoft ads where we targeted a bit more senior audience, for example, and Microsoft ads audience as a bit more senior. So again, we managed to generate leads at a discount compared to Google ads with Microsoft ads, for
Yeah. So
example.
what I know is saying here is Google Ads is crucial because sometimes you have some customers that have no time to think. They just want something here and now. Like plumbers near me, they need something done straight away. They want a quote and they want to kind of get that information as quick as possible. That is why Google Ads is really crucial. So for B2B lead generation websites, we mentioned the importance of the sales team, the importance of offline tracking. The conversion shouldn't just be defined by the website alone. So how do you then determine what keywords to target when it comes to lead generation website? What keywords do you target? And the reason why I'm asking this is because lead generation in B2B sometimes could be complex. Sometimes it could be a long sales cycle. Some could be more than 2 months or 3 months before they make that final decision. And for every stage of the journey, they're searching for different types of information. How do you determine what keywords to target across the customer journey before they then get passed on to the sales team?
So Google Ads reaches multiple platforms. It has the search, it has the display, and it has the video as well. So for lead generation purposes, we usually start with the search network, because that's where the highest the intent is. So when someone goes to Google and put a search term in, that's where the intent is the highest. So I'm happy that you started with the keyword part, because obviously for lead generation type of services at a later stage, usually we use YouTube and the display network as well, but 99% of the time we start with the search network and we start with keyword. So keyword research. Well, obviously we need some input from our customers. So they already.
So sorry to
Sorry.
interrupt. So by customers, you mean the input from the
Oh
client?
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So basically, I'm talking like an agency or a freelancer.
Okay.
So an agency or a freelancer would start the keyword research process by talking to their client. So whoever wants to start Google Ads, also they need about their own keywords. So we got some feedback from the partner who wants to start the ad. Obviously, we check the landing pages as well, and we will recommend landing pages, because there is a high chance that they want to target a bit broader audience that their current landing pages would cover. Also, there are tools. So if you know your competitors, and most businesses know their competitors,
Yeah.
we can spy on the search terms that they are using. So
Yeah.
there are tools like SEMrush, or obviously Ahrefs. We can use that. Also, Google is pretty open now with their transparency center. So if you type in a domain in the transparency center, you will see that what ads they are running, and you can't see the keywords, but obviously from the ad text and the ad copy, you kind of like have a grasp of, well, this is kind of like the keywords, this is kind of like the areas they are targeting, because you would expect to see in the headline, like, best roofer in Austin, or top rated cleaning company in Tennessee or Colorado, or something like that. Obviously, you know what areas they are targeting, and potentially what keywords they are using. So there are a lot of tools available, and yeah, everything starts with a good keyword research.
Yeah. So I just want to put in a quick story. So in the past, without mentioning the client, what we've done is get like the seed keywords from the client. They will give the salespeople have more information, but the salespeople and the designers and the people that have those customer facing experience that talk to the actual customers, they sometimes don't know what a good keyword is. If you're looking to optimize and use Google Ads for lead generation, it's worth having those conversations with those people. And the more you listen to them as the basis of your keyword research, the more ideas you will get. And as Arno is mentioning, that's where you kind of sometimes can use questionnaires. Those questionnaires would then help you gather those information from the target customer. And then you then use those questionnaires and those keywords that you get from them into tools like SEMrush, Google Keyword Planner as your seed keyword. and then you build from there. So, in your experience, Erno, of working with Google Ads campaigns for many years, you've worked on different sizes of organization from a lead generation perspective. Sometimes people assume that it's just a good website, a good picture that makes Google Ads work. But we both know that the ad copy, the text, and the message that you're trying to send, the message is the fundamental because the message can then be text, image, or video. So, what are the best practice of writing effective Google Ads for lead generation, Google Ads copy, as well as call to action? What are your recommendations for that?
Yeah, so the text is it's a funny thing because so obviously this is the first what your customers will see about you, and
Yeah,
if they don't like it, they don't click, and that's it. So you lost that click.
yeah,
So mostly talking about the Google search network at the moment is your ad text should mirror the search query what the user typed into Google. So if someone looking for a roofer in Austin or looking for kitchen remodel in Tennessee, you should start with that. So I've seen so many cases when people have all the different kind of services, and they just write one ad that covered all the different searches. That won't really work. Maybe it worked 10 years ago, but now it's everything so saturated and crowded.
yeah,
You need to be really, really specific. So yeah, well, I'm a roofer in Austin. I'm a commercial cleaner company in Utah, whatever. Also, this is a good idea to start with this in your headline, to just make sure that that you replicate what the user searched in. However, I've seen sometimes people overuse it a little bit. So like, you opened, so you got the search result page from Google, and it's saying there are 4, best roofers in Austin. So number 1 best roofer, whatever, and basically all ads says the same thing. So I would emphasize that you need to be a little bit more creative here. So also need to monitor what your competitors are using. Try to stand out from them. Do not copy them
yeah,
exactly, because it will create the same situation I just mentioned, that there are 4 different domains and everyone is the best roofer in that area. Also, clear, compelling value proposition, unique selling points. So these are the things that usually people are looking for after they check, okay, well, he's a roofer or they are a roofer in that location, so that's great, but what other things they can offer. So usually people mention how long they are in the business, how many reviews are there, guaranteed warranties or guaranteed something plus. So, we leave the site cleaner than they found it.
yeah,
And also there are the customer's pain points. So, yeah, well, if there is a leakage somewhere, we will be there in 30 minutes or whatever. So that's also really important to think about the pain points of the customer. And also, if it's a bit more complex service, like a B2B lead generation, where kind of like the user journey is really, really prolonged, needs like even 15 you need like even you need like even 15 touch points with the customer before before
they buy.
before they convert, or before they got a quote from you. So you also need to think about what stage the user are in, because if they just exploring the topic, you would go for learn more about this service, learn more about why this SaaS tool is better than the other SaaS tool.
Yeah.
And if it's kind of like at the very bottom of the funnel searches, then you can go more direct, like register now, $1 for the free month, $1 for the first month, or something like that, or
Yeah.
register today, get 3 days unlimited access, something like that, more offer based
Yeah.
to convert people.
Yeah, I like what you said there about looking at the competitors, because there's some words that is just buzzwords that people are tired of. Even if you're the best, when people start saying best, blah, 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 they just kind of switch off. So I like the fact that you highlighted that look at what the other competitors are doing. You're looking at it not to copy them, but you're looking at it to make sure that your Google Ads copy stands out differently to what the competitors are doing. So when you're trying to sell the value of your service to a potential client for them to fill out your lead generation form, so does visuals and videos, do they impact the quality of the leads? And is there any difference with leads from mobile and desktop, those impact that visuals have on conversion, visuals and videos?
So more complex services, what we see is that obviously need more touch points, and that's where the videos can play a large part. So, if you just broke your key into your lock, obviously you want you don't want to watch a 5 or 10 minutes video about how great the company is. You just need someone to show up in hopefully in the next half an hour or something like that.
Yeah.
So there are type of services where I wouldn't really recommend to create a video, and then there are type of services where I think the video should be an essential part of their offering, and when they are thinking about the user journey, those videos should be inserted into the user journey. So what we see, for example, for more complex services, B2B usually, retargeting videos are quite good. So for the listeners or for the viewers who don't know what retargeting is, basically that means that someone visited your website and then left without the conversion, left without downloading something. You go after that user with retargeting. You can use videos, simple text ads, and display ads as well.
But that's very annoying because people don't like that. Like normally when you go on a website and you start seeing the same product or the same service. So because why I'm asking this is because when people then start seeing your ad, so when does it stop for someone that doesn't understand? So when will you then stop showing them that retargeting ads? I like when you said when they don't complete the conversion, the
Yeah.
retargeting will follow them. When does it become stalking? I'm just curious.
Yeah, so unfortunately, a lot of companies don't do it right. First of all, what I saw, which is really annoying, that yeah, so you just visited my website and you didn't like, for some reason, the offering. So I'm just keep bombarding you with the same offering. So that's I would recommend that. I recommend that if you want to do retargeting right, you start retargeting with slightly different kind of messages,
Okay.
slightly different kind of propositions, and see which sticks to your audience better. So
That sounds better because then they're not. It's not. It doesn't look like stalking. You're not sending them the same thing, and the
yes,
person is
yeah,
just thinking, "Leave me alone, leave me alone." So if it's
yeah.
different messaging, telling them about the pain points and just showing them the value, then it's less stalky. So yeah, like in the olden days when it comes to dating and relationship, it was okay to be persistent with a girl, but now that's scary. They're like, "Whoa, you're weirdos." Times have changed, and people before people used to enjoy retargeting. They didn't see a problem with it, but now, to Ernest's point, retargeting could be a problem. So, what about the mobile and desktop conversions when it comes to video? Do you see any differences in those two?
I would say based on the audience. So B2B type of audience, obviously mostly in front of desktop computer, and B2C audience is mostly using for product and service discovery. So I wouldn't say there is a clear difference in performance. It's basically who you target and where are your target market is. Usually there is a funny story regarding retargeting, or well, I think it's funny. So early days, and sometimes now I see it, that I go into Google Ads account and see how or where those retargeting ads are running. It used to be, or there were some account where 80% of the time YouTube runs retargeting on nursery rhymes and such, which
Oh,
is obviously
that's children running
yes,
retarget.
yeah,
Wow,
yeah, 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 yeah.
that's a lot of
So,
waste of money.
that's a waste of money. So if you do retargeting, obviously, unfortunately, retargeting picks up your device, not who is actually the person behind it. So when you just hand over your mobile to your children, watch some nursery rhymes or such, unfortunately, they will get the same videos that you would get based on your customer journeys.
Yeah.
So I would highly recommend whoever doing retargeting, especially on YouTube, add the nursery rhymes and the kids channels as an exclusion.
Okay, okay. It's nice that you mentioned that, because we sometimes assume that, not assume, it's general knowledge that mobile traffic is higher, people use the mobile more, but in some niche and some organization and some target clients, sometimes you don't really get as much mobile traffic. Why I'm saying this is I worked with a pharmaceutical company in the past where their target audience were doctors and pharmacists and all those kind of professionals. And this period was when mobile was really, really high. But we found out looking at the analytics that in fact they had more desktop visits and more desktop conversions than mobile. So what we're saying here is don't assume where what the conversion comes from or where what converts better. Look at your analytics. And as Erno said as well, look at your retargeting and make sure that it's not running wild and you're just wasting money. So that's why you need someone that knows where to look. Because with Google Ads, there are a lot of hidden places where you can be losing money and be wasting money. And as a business owner, your time is devoted to running the business. You don't really need the headache of looking at Google Ads and optimizing it. That's why if you need Google Ads consulting, training, coaching, and mentoring, reach out to Erno and he will be glad to help you optimize your lead generation websites. So, Erno, from a strategic perspective, what campaign objective is better? Website traffic, form completion, and how does that website traffic affect lead quality?
Pretty complex question. Again, it kind of like boils down for the strategy, what you want, because I've seen success targeting or going for higher traffic volume. So if you are a new business and kind of like no one actually looks for that business because they don't know you are existing, for example, a new SaaS tool or some kind of AI thing. No one is actually looking for, yeah, I want this kind of like AI tool because they don't know it exists. So you need to go into a bit more of a demand generation side, and that's where I would say the traffic to your website, to your blog can spark people's mind that, okay, well, yeah, this is my problem, so this resembles my problem, so now how I can fix it. But again, most type of lead generation businesses, I would say we usually go with some kind of conversion. So even downloading a white paper or submitting a form or starting using the software for 7 days for free, for something like that.
Yeah, I totally agree. So, like, I'll give you an example. I was working with a luxury kitchen retailer a while back, and one thing that was causing issues was they were expecting every visit from Google Ads to convert, which is not possible because when it comes to complex sales, people don't make the decision to buy immediately. Sometimes they're thinking 6 months ahead, a year ahead. So how you capture that lead and how you then nurture them to when they're ready to buy is really, really important. And what Erno is saying is if you have an increased traffic to your website, the non-transactional part of your website, the blogs and all those areas of the website, it does help because you're creating brand awareness, and sometimes they can fill out a form. Although they're not ready to buy, then you can put them into a bucket where you then do some follow-up. Your sales team would then nurture them and do a follow-up. So if you're listening to this podcast and you have a lead generation website, you need a more robust strategy for people that are interested but they're not ready to buy right now. How do you then keep them in the pipeline for future purchases and future conversions? That's where the quality of your leads from a sales perspective, your sales team, how they nurture them, and email marketing channels and different strategies will go a long way. So, Erno, how do Google Ads form extension work? And form extension is basically a situation when people are on Google Ads, Google will give them a form to fill without getting to your website. You can capture those leads from there directly from Google Ads. And as you mentioned earlier on, also directly from Facebook, you collect the leads. And then the other option is to actually get those people to your website and then you collect the leads. So, what is the difference in the quality of leads from a Google Ads form on Google platform and leads from a client's website on their actual website? What's the difference in the quality of that lead?
Well, besides that, I'm not a fan of those lead forms.
Okay.
Mostly people barely know about the business. So they read a headline, two headlines, in some cases three, two description lines, and that's all they know about the business. And we immediately ask them to, okay, well, give us your
Information.
your information, yeah, without knowing a bit deeper about the business.
So basically, what you're saying is, in real life example, I always like using this example. Is you've just met a lady, she doesn't know anything about you, and you're straight up asking her for a number, give you
Yeah,
your phone number. That's exactly why you don't really fancy, why you don't like the lead form on Google compared to the actual website. Go on.
yeah. And I used to do it, and I wondered why why the number is not not available. What I
Yeah,
got.
yeah.
So yeah, so I think it's a bit premature to ask it's good for Google because people don't leave Google, so they kind of like stay there. But for the advertiser, it's a bit of a mixed bag, I would say. I've seen sometimes it's working, but for most businesses, especially for complex businesses,
Yeah.
I wouldn't use it.
Okay. So I actually agree with you 100% because they don't have enough information and they're still just browsing around. And even if they fill out the lead form, that's a high potential that is going to be a bad quality lead. Or you mentioned this in another episode as well about with phone calls, sometimes call extension. Sometimes those people just pick the call, they're not even sure about the information, and it wastes the time of your sales team, waste your budget because those clicks you pay for, even though if they don't convert. So in your opinion and working with clients, what are the benefits of using social media ads for lead generation? Like, how does Facebook, Instagram, and all those social media platforms work for lead generation websites
Yeah.
when it comes to lead
So
generation?
so social media, well, especially Facebook, it's pretty good to pick up the signal. So obviously, if you visit a kitchen remodel company and then you visit another kitchen remodel company and both has the Facebook pixel installed for their own retargeting, there is a high chance that that Facebook will notice you and, oh well, he is interested in this kind of topics. So it starts serving you similar ads from other suppliers, from other service providers. However, those leads, so that what you got from social media, especially from Facebook, usually a bit harder to close. So it's not as high intent as for example coming from Google.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I've seen quite large campaigns as well that are really successful on Facebook. So I don't want to bash Facebook at all. If you have a quite large budget, probably it works much better because all the platforms need data. So Google works with a lot of data, Facebook works with a lot of data. But if you are just a local service-based business in a smaller area, obviously you won't have too much data for Facebook.
Yeah.
That's why Google is slightly better because the demand is higher in Google. Also, I'd like to add LinkedIn. This is kind of like a special case for B2B. I think LinkedIn is pretty good to
Yeah.
target that type of audience.
Yeah. So what you're saying basically, and sometimes customers are not real. It depends on their mood. So someone on Facebook that is looking for entertainment, looking to laugh, then you serve them an ad. Maybe they're not in the right frame for that, as well as TikTok. But what I find amazing is TikTok started as a funny, jokey, blah blah blah, but now people use TikTok for commerce. So it's really hard to just say this platform is not good for this. It works for some people and it doesn't work for some people. So if you're looking to explore Facebook and social media for your lead generation, reach out to Erno. He would help you adapt your messaging, your creative to make sure that you're getting the best from those platforms. And if that platform doesn't really work, then he'll be able to guide you to actually focus on the right platform, which in most instances is going to be Google Ads because of the high intent when it comes to converting on those websites. So, in your opinion, Erno, apart from conversions, what are the other important metrics businesses should focus on for lead generation website? What other metric apart from conversion should they focus on?
So first of all, I would say CTR, so click-through rate
Okay.
on your ad, because it shows that how good your message is. So if you have a high, obviously the CTR is kind of like relative, because if you are a bit slower, then your CTR will drop. But based on how high you are on the search result page, the CTR, I think it is a really good metric that how targeted your ad is. Because if your ad is not targeted enough, obviously you are missing out a lot of opportunities because people won't click on the ad. Google will start to increase the prices for you because it also picks up the signal that people are just not clicking. So I would say CTR is a pretty good metric that you would focus on. And also talking about Google search, there is a metric called search impression share. So if your targeting is right, because if your targeting is not right, search impression share is not going to help you. But if your targeting is right, search impression share is a pretty good metric that's showing how much potential are there in the market. So for example, if your search impression share is 80%, then it means that you are already covering most of the market. So most of the search term you picked are already getting enough attention. So for example, throwing more money to these keywords won't really help you because there is not a substantial amount of additional traffic that you can capture. If your search impression share is low, like 20% or something, and you are quite profitable, for example, with your current campaign, then you can just start increasing your CPCs, you can start increase your target CPA, you can give a bit more budget to Google, hoping that you will find more customers. Also, bounce rate, which is when people come to your landing page from Google and they just leave your website without doing anything on it. So bounce rate is also a really good indicator that you need to focus on, because you can have really high click-through rates, which means your ads are really good and people find it interesting, click on it. But if they if the bounce rate is high, if they leave your website basically without doing, then you know, okay, well, my ad is good, probably my offering is good in the ad, but my landing page is not capturing the intent.
Yeah. When it comes to people coming to a lead generation website, and most websites, there's that basic understanding across experts like yourself and myself that they might not convert the first time they come. They'll come multiple times. And after maybe, from a conversion standpoint, maybe after like 7 or 8 visits, that's potentially when they will be ready to convert because they need to get a lot of information before they convert. When you're setting up Google Ads for lead generation websites, what exactly are the common challenges companies face and how do you help them address this problem?
So tracking the ROI or tracking the return on investment accurately, this is usually an issue. And also, more importantly, kind of like with every marketing, which part is working? Is there a part which is not working? Because usually, there are 100 leads, 150 leads you get out of your budget, and after a month you will see, well, yeah, there were like 15% spam, so couldn't even reach them. There were 30% not interested enough, and there were 15 people who submitted who basically submitted the contract. So and you start thinking, okay, well, what if I just target those 15 and not paying for for the rest? So that's kind of like a really interesting question regarding lead generation, that how we find that people who are more likely to convert, and not spending a bunch of money on people that we just couldn't convert.
So, and just to highlight, this problem with ROI comes when sometimes they're spending money when there's seasonality attached to it. Sometimes you find clients and organizations that don't really factor in seasonality into how they spend money. They start spending money when they shouldn't be spending money. So that's something that you help companies do. So how do they then analyze sales from that seasonality perspective? What do you recommend in terms of lead generation for seasonal organizations where maybe roofing? I'm sure nobody will be doing their roof in the winter. So how do you factor in seasonality?
Yeah. So in less high season times, I would say you need to focus more like on branding and a little bit of building up the audience,
Okay.
and then convert them when the conversion likelihood is higher. But you also, I would highly recommend you have a CRM system or somewhere you store their leads, because in the time of warm up, you store them, and when actually you can service them, you can start reaching out them, newsletter, email, post, whatever. In current market, I wouldn't really go without a CRM to a regeneration battle, to be honest, because it's so essential.
Yeah. So when it comes to then bidding strategies for lead generation websites from a quantity and quality standpoint, because what I mean by quantity is where people just chase clicks and hoping it's going to convert. And then when it's more from a quality standpoint, it's where they look at conversion and different focus on conversion alone. So what are the best bidding strategies in your opinion and your experience of working with multiple clients across multiple regions of the world when it comes to lead generation?
Well, there is tough question. So I would start with, okay, so if you start a new campaign, then obviously you don't really know anything about the market, which terms will convert, which not, which areas are better, which not. So in terms of when start a campaign, I would probably go with with either a maximize click strategy with a very well defined keyword set. So like roofer near me, roofer Austin, etc., etc. Try to test the waters with this one, and also for the more like B2C, this was B2C. Either you also could try broad match keywords plus maximize conversion. So I've seen this strategy is working as well. So you have a few strategies you can start with without having data, but maybe you need to try 2-3 different strategies till you find one which are actually working for you. If you're a more mature type business and you already have the data, then you can actually try to go for margin or return on investment bidding for lead generation, kind of like almost an e-commerce style bidding strategy, but you need to have enough data for the system to be able to, and also you need to have accounting, I would say that right, that okay, well, this is how much I made on that conversion. Otherwise, it just won't work.
Okay. So, two more questions. In terms of lead generation and Google Ads, how has Google Ads evolved over the years? We hear about new features that Google introduced. So, what are the new things businesses should kind of focus on when it comes to lead generation with Google Ads for the next few years?
Well, so interesting times, I would say. So Google was like 90 whatever percent market share regarding searches until ChatGPT and Perplexity and other tools come into play. So obviously the next few years, I think the market will be a bit more segmented than nowadays. Some people call it, yeah, Google is dead, whatever. That's just, I think, funny. So,
Extreme.
pretty extreme. It obviously does well on a LinkedIn post to say something like it, but I don't think people will, will even consider it true.
Yeah.
Google is a bit behind, with the AI stuff at the moment, but well, obviously they have a lot of data, and they have a lot of money as well. So I think eventually they will figure out, given these two, how they can get back some audience that they have lost. So my point is that that lead generation got more, so you need to be more sophisticated with your lead generation for obvious purposes, and also you need to expect that the customer journeys are one that I would say straightforward if they were, because people maybe type in the same question into ChatGPT and Google and check both results, and maybe they go with what ChatGPT come up with. So you need to be sure in the next couple of years that you are not just focusing on Google Ads regarding your lead generation. Also make sure that your company is visible in
Other platforms. So
the other
basically
platforms.
what you're saying is whilst Google Ads is really good for lead generation, you should have an open mind and diversify your acquisition channel and just make your lead generation future proof. So
Yeah.
we see a lot of problems with people working with agencies, even sometimes with freelancers, because sometimes what I see is sometimes the agency has too much clients and they're not able to focus on the same quality. And I've seen situations where larger clients sometimes will use the agency as the punching bag to kind of shield themselves from any decision that they fail to make or they make, and they use the agency and they change agencies. Like if the CEO or CFO complains that Google Ads is wasting money, they're like, it's the agency, let's change agency. So when you're getting someone is looking to change agencies and come work with yourself or myself or work with a freelancer to get better results, what exactly is the process that you go through to onboard an organization that is already doing Google Ads with an agency or in-house and they want to come work with you? How do you approach helping lead generation websites start working with you? And what are the guarantees that you give? I know people nothing is guaranteed, but what exactly do you do with onboarding new clients? What are the costs that they should be looking at when they're looking to working with you? Because ultimately, it's cheaper, in my opinion, to work with an agency that is not too big like yours. So because you're able to give them experience and quality. So yeah, if you can talk through that.
So usually we start with an audit because we would like to see what's in the account, what they've tried, what exactly, the issues. So most of the time we found a lot of issues, and the nursery rhymes kids channels, or they are tracking every form submission as a lead. There are job seeker form submissions as well that are being tracked, or they tracking the phone calls, but for example, the time of the call should be just 15 seconds. So, and there is no meaningful phone call that is 15 seconds. So usually we uncover a lot of things with the audit. We present it to the company, and usually we close it, to be honest, the customer with the audit we do, because we do a really, really thorough audit, and we try to uncover as much things as possible. And after that, we send out a new client questionnaire, because we like to learn more about you, about what your target market is, what your best performing services, what are the areas. So it's a large part of our job is to getting know with the client, understand what they want to achieve, understand what their customers are, who their customers are, where they are, etc., etc. And we ask for access, Google Analytics, Google Tag Manager, sometimes the CRM system, to be able to see the whole funnel, what's happening there. And obviously we set up the reporting cadence, we create the reports, and we give a roadmap to them. This is what we are going to do in the first few months, and what they can expect from working with us. The guarantee is a funny thing, because obviously they want guarantees, but we don't have kind of like that really specific guarantee, that money back guarantee or something like that. Usually we improve the account performance by 20%. So that's kind of like what we saw almost across the board. Sometimes it's 50%. I think that was kind of like a bit extreme. It depends on how bad the previous company managed the account before us.
Yeah. So what you're saying in essence is if they have a terrible agency and they're coming to you, there's no guarantee, but you aim to improve up to 20% of the performance of the campaign. So if you're new to the website, so if you're new to the channel, go on and click on the subscribe and like this video. And if you need Google Ads consulting, audit, optimization, reach out to Erno and he will be glad to help you. My name is Femi Olajiga, and we will see you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.